All right, good evening. Welcome to the Ossining CDBG presentation for the 2025 to 2027 year. We have a couple of folks representing on the call tonight. I see some folks still coming in, so we'll give everyone a couple minutes to get situated. My name is Maddie Zahach. I'm the Assistant Village Manager for the Village of Ossining. Also joining me on the Village team tonight is Village Manager Karen DeTore, as well as Village Trustee Dana White and our Village Engineer Paul Fraioli, as well as our CDAG, our Community Representative Catherine Quishby. Thank you for joining us, Catherine. I will turn it over very quickly to the supervisor to introduce the town team, and then to Mr. Milbert from the Ossining Children's Center to present or to introduce himself quickly, and then the village will get started with the first presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Maddie. I am here joined by my budget director / assistant, Martha Kutastaka, who will be helping with the presentation tonight. And I guess I'll hand it off to...
we also have our CDAG represented here, Jackie Shaw.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hi, Jackie. Sorry. I thought she was introduced. Let's see if I can get this better. That's better. Yes, Jackie, my former co-counsel and current representative and friend. Thank you.
Okay, great. And Mr. Milbert from the Children's Center, I see that you're not allowing me to pull you in as a panelist, so I'm just going to allow you to talk again, just to introduce yourself before we get started. Mr. Milbert, can you unmute?
I'm the executive director of the Ossining Children's Center. I've been here since 1985, and we'd like to present 3 years worth of projects for your consideration.
Okay, thank you, Howard. I'm going to get started sharing my screen for the village's presentation, which is also sort of a general introduction. And then after that, I will turn it over to Martha and then to Howard. One moment to do that. Okie doke. So again, this is the village's proposed CDBG projects for the 2025 to 2027 grant funding round. I will take you through a short slide presentation here, starting with sort of an introduction to CDBG. So what is CDBG? CDBG is a federal program under HUD, Housing and Urban Development, called Community Development Block Grants. Communities throughout the United States, as well as certain individual governmental bodies, are able to apply for CDBG funding. Luckily for us here in Westchester County has formed the Urban County Consortium. So they assist the Village of Ossining, the Town of Ossining, some qualified nonprofits within our municipality, and several other municipalities throughout the county in order to go through this process. So again, this is federal funding that started to become available to communities throughout the United States around 1974. And if you look over to the right, who is eligible to apply? So you'll see there's a couple different categories of folks who are able to apply for this funding. And the village and town are 2 of 31 members of the 2024 Westchester Urban County Consortium. Project funding, as I know we're going to talk about a little bit later, is really meant to serve a very discrete population within our communities. So specifically low and moderate income residents living in a municipality who are at or below 80% area median income. So what is area median income? Well, based on the place where you live, it sort of outlines, you can see right here at the bottom, the 2024 HUD income guidelines, 80%. So generally speaking, in Westchester County, for a family of 4, for example, 80% of that area median income is $124,950. So HUD funding in this particular instance under CDBG is really aimed at families who make roundabout that amount of money. We're able to determine that using census data. So certain census tracts are eligible for projects. And then if there are projects outside of those census tracts, you would need to prove that the demographic the project would be serving meets or exceeds that threshold. So going forward, here are the parameters that have been set forth by the Urban County Consortium for this grant funding round. Each community may submit up to 4 projects, each with a maximum ask of $200,000. So the projects can be as big as you want them to be, but the county is only going to be considering putting forth $200,000 for each individual project. That's the max for each one. And a 50% match on all grant funds is required. So if, for example, we had a $500,000 project, of course, our match would be $300,000 since they're only giving 2. But if we had a $200,000 match, or if we had a $2,000 project, our match would be $100,000. It's a 50% no matter what. We've been asked to rank the projects in priority order and presented for public feedback, and our CDAG. So again, Jackie Shaw for the town and Catherine Quishby for the village are our designated folks to make sure that we're going through the community process appropriately. And then the complete applications, including the record of public hearing and that CDAG sign off, are due on August 16th. So we're right around the corner from that deadline. The first step in this process that we decided to go forward with is sort of a public information session for folks in the Ossining community to make sure that you understand fully the projects that we're putting forward for this grant cycle, which again is a 3-year cycle. This only comes around but for every 3 years. And then the public hearings for the individual municipalities are going to take place next week. So we'll talk about those a little bit more in a while. But as far as what projects we're eligible to apply for, again, making sure that we're mindful of those census tracts, or taking into account the fact that the projects have to serve people within that area meeting income. Some examples of eligible projects are the acquisition of real property, relocation and demolition, rehabilitation of residential and non-residential structures, construction of public facilities, public services, activities related to energy conservation and renewable energy resources, and provision of assistance to profit-motivated businesses to carry out economic development and job creation and retention activities. So now moving into the village's 3 projects. You can take a look here, and we're going to go into each one a little bit more in depth, but ranked in priority order. The first is the Spring Street Walkability Improvements Phase 2 project, which is a $458,000 project. The next is the walking path connecting Hunter Street and Lower James Street, as well as finishing the paving at the base of James Street, Lower James. And that is a $684,900 project. Third up is streetscaping along Ellis Place, $499,200 project. And finally, streetscaping along William Street, a $459,000 project. So considering the money that the village is looking to put forth in this request, we're looking to have it matched by 38.1% in grant value. So it's a little over $2 million worth of work, and we'd be getting a little less than half than that back if in fact we're approved at $200,000 per project for all 4 of these projects. So now we're going to go through each of the projects individually. I am going to just set it up and then turn it over to our village engineer in case he has anything to add on each of these projects. So starting with Spring Street Walkability Improvements Phase 2. Paul?
Thank you, Maddie. Phase 2 of the Spring Street project, if we do get awarded the money, will be a continuation of Phase 1 of the Spring Street project, which is yet to commence the construction phase. The design phase is ongoing right now with the county's planning department, who are the administrators of this money, and in streetscape projects like this are also the designers, sometimes with the assistance of a consultant engineering firm, but often the landscape architecture is done in-house at the county. We create the bid documents with them, and then we complete the project. For an analogy, it's the same thing we did with Upper James Street over the last couple of years. The county awarded us that project. They designed it. We bid it through the village clerk's office and oversaw the construction in the field with some consultant assistance for some administrative requirements as part of the grant. So the phase 2 Spring Street project will mirror what we were looking to do on phase 1. And essentially it's the sidewalks, including the curbs, from Lafayette Avenue down through and including down to the Rockledge intersection. Some of that work will not necessarily be included in the scope potentially, because a lot of it is going to get repaired by Con Edison, who's down there now digging up the street for all the gas. The county knows that, so we are going to clean that up a little bit once the contract documents reach a phase that we can review. That is something that the county thinks is out a little bit. It's not going to start anytime soon, but that's where we are with the phase 2 scoping if we get awarded that project. Essentially ADA improvements for accessibility for handicapped folks that are utilizing the sidewalk. And with most CDBG projects, after all that work is done, the village would like to come in and repave the road sections that are within the area of disruption of those projects.
Okay, moving on. Lower James and Hunter Street.
So Lower James would be a continuation of what we did on James Street last year. New sidewalks, curbs, driveway aprons, and some streetscape work was done down there, and plantings. James Street also had some stormwater treatment devices that were installed. We hope to do the same on Lower James, where we're going to do the sidewalks, the curbs, ADA accessibility, and this is going to be blended with the paper road portion of James Street and used down to Hunter Street, which right now is a has turned by default into a pathway. It's in severe need of restoration. There's also some utilities within that paper road, including a water main and stormwater. So there's some engineering required there that's going to have to be included in the landscape architecture work. But once it's completed, from Route 9 all the way to Hunter Street, James Street will be a very nice thoroughfare with a very nice landscape walking detail through what is now not such a pleasant area to traverse on the paper road that connects James Street to Hunter Street.
Okay, next up is Ellis Place.
And Ellis Place is a little different than the Spring Street project and James Street projects, which are the housing is a little more dense there, and there's a little bit more to work around. Ellis Place is a little more, the lots are bigger, and it's more of just a clear-cut sidewalk restoration project. But it does go down the Route 9, but Ellis Place is, in some areas, is void of appropriate ADA access at the intersections and where the sidewalk meets the road. So sidewalk restoration, ADA accessibility is going to be the major thing there. There may be some landscaping involved, but there's a lot of mature trees in that area, which we will obviously hopefully maintain during the scoping of that project. And we hope we get that one too. It's much needed on Ellis Place. It's a highly traveled corridor, particularly with the high school and St. Anne's on either side of Ellis Place. There's a lot of pedestrian traffic, so we look to create the most pleasant pedestrian experience that's ADA accessible with this project as well.
And last but not least, William Street.
William Street is I'll make it almost parallel to what everybody saw on James Street. It's literally parallel, and it's parallel in scope, if you will. There's compromised sidewalks and curbs and aprons there, and lacking the appropriate ADA access at some of the intersections. And if you've paid attention on what we've been doing there, that's the theme that we've been accomplishing, most of it with the county, but some of it internally. We're kind of like spreading out from the downtown area, and it's kind of the restoration work is trying to pick up on the pedestrians that come into the downtown area with the surrounding communities. So some time ago, with CDBG money, actually, we did State Street. We did Broad Avenue with a lot of CDBG money where the sidewalk was really wide. We did a lot of the downtown sidewalks, and we're just continuing south into the very popular neighborhoods that really do facilitate a lot of that pedestrian traffic, to try to give them the newest and safest sidewalks that we can. So William Street is going to mirror what folks saw on James Street. So if you like what you see on James Street, hopefully with this grant, we can do the same thing on William Street within the next few years.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul.
Welcome.
So the next step, after we go through the rest of our presentations this evening, is that we want the public to weigh in on these projects. So there's two ways that you can do that. The first one is you can email plan, PLAN, at villageofossining.org. Make sure you include the subject line CDBG 2025-2027. This email will come to the manager's office and will also be shared with the Board of Trustees. And secondly, you can participate at our public hearing. So a week from today, August 7th at 7:30 p.m., we will be in person at the Birdsall-Fagan Police Court facility on Spring Street. You can come in person to share your thoughts on the projects, or you can also join via Zoom. You can go to villageofossining.org and look at the agenda for next week to see the login credentials for that Zoom call. And finally, just a little plug, please keep in touch with us here in the Village of Ossining. There's a lot of ways besides these presentations that you can find out about not just CDBG, but a lot of the cool things we have going on around the village. You can subscribe to the mayor's weekly message and web blast. You can do that through, again, villageofossining.org. You can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram. You can go to the village's website and check out the story map. You can see sort of the little graphic over here on the right-hand side. It's a story map downtown development projects. It's pretty cool. You can hover over some of the different locations throughout the village and get a quarterly update on the status of the project and what's coming next. And finally, if you have additional questions about these projects or any, you can email the Board of Trustees at bot@villageofossining.org. And with that, I will turn it over to Supervisor Feldman and her team. Thank you.
We can't hear you, Liz. Liz, you're muted.
Sorry. I was saying what a nice presentation, and it's always good to have the ADA sidewalks so that people can get around. I'm going to turn it over to Martha, who has our presentation all ready to go.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I am the budget officer for the town of Ossining, as well as the administrative assistant to the supervisor. And we're going to be presenting on the town of Ossining's CDBG 2025 to 2027 projects. One second, hold on. Okay. So as Maddie was saying in her presentation with the village, municipalities can submit up to 4 project applications with funding reimbursement for each application not to exceed $200,000. And when it comes to CDBG, the town of Ossining is different from the village of Ossining. Due to CDBG's low to moderate income census parameters, we technically in the town can apply it only to Lewis Engle Park and to the town's senior nutrition program. In the past, some of the CDBG grants that have been approved include getting an electric bus for the senior department, as well as getting a new renovated kitchen for the senior nutrition program as well. For this specific round of CDBG, we are really going to be focusing on projects set to improve Lewis Engle Park. Our first application is the Lewis Engle Park Playground Equipment and Surfacing. And it's two parts. So the first part in this application is we're going to replace old and damaged equipment in the current playground. So we want to bring in new concepts to help nurture safe play. And the second part will be replacing the current playground surface with an ADA compliant poured-in-place rubber surfacing. This will be placed under new equipment and under existing fitness area equipment. Funding for these two parts is $603,000. Our CDBG request is going to be $200,000 with a town match of $403,000. So the current playground status is, as we can see in these images, it's slowly becoming deteriorated. A lot of the kids love to enjoy and go down there. And one of the ideas that we were having is replacing it with this playground that's in the shape of a shipwreck, which will kind of fit in with the theme that we have down at the waterfront, but we are not getting rid of the trains. The train will still remain down there for anybody that's worried about the train going away. It will still be there. And in regards to the playground surface, we currently have an engineered wood fiber, but we will be upgrading it to this poured-in-place rubber surfacing, which will make it much more ADA compliant. Our second application is the Lewis Engle Park decks and fishing piers. So the current fishing pier was built in the 1980s. And as we can see in the pictures, it has slowly become deteriorating. The current deck is beyond repair. And several piles are damaged and will need to be replaced soon. We also want to upgrade railings to meet current safety standards. And an idea that we're having is connecting boardwalk to accommodate the number of people taking advantage of this affordable way to enjoy the Hudson and all it has to offer. And this is a drawing of what we are looking to place in there. So these 2 decades old piers are in need of replacement, and addition connection would provide additional space for residents and visitors to fish or sit and enjoy the beauty of the Hudson River. So that's kind of the plan that we have for this project. The funding, we have an estimated total cost of $267,000. Our CDBG request is going to be for $133,500 with a town match of the same amount. Our third application is in regards to bathrooms at the northern end of the Lewis Engle Park. So the main bathrooms are going to be relocated to the southern end of the park. That's actually part of a previous CDBG grant that we have been awarded already. And that park is going to be much more on the southern end, and it's going to be closer to the spray park as per the health department's recommendations. What we're trying to apply for in this round of CDBG is to install a small satellite bathroom on the northern end of the park in order to accommodate seniors and those who have trouble walking the distance to the opposite end of the park. And this is kind of an idea of what we're trying to bring in it's a small satellite bathroom to the northern end. And again, this bathroom is going to be utilized during concerts and other community events at the waterfront. So we have an estimated total of $294,000 for this project. The CDBG request is going to be for $147,000 with a town match of the same amount. Our third application is going to be for the Lewis Engle Park sidewalk repairs, shade trees, and seating. So the sidewalks at the waterfront are in disrepair, as we can see in the pictures. So we are going to be applying for paving and curving, as well as widening the sidewalk to meet ADA compliance. There's also no shade near the walkway. Additionally, old tree stumps have been left out in the lawn area. So we're going to be applying for lawn restoration and planting of shade trees. This tree planting project will also help to mitigate the urban heat island effect created by the adjacent MTA parking lot down there. So you also want to bring in additional seating options for residents and park users to use. In this project, but one thing we want to highlight is that it's going to be done after other park restorations are completed. There is a lot that's going to be happening down there over the next couple of years at Lewis Engle Park, such as, as we mentioned before, the moving of the bathrooms to the southern end of the park, as well as we have DRI to do with the stage. So this is going to be done after that is done, so we can set this up. Funding for this, we have an estimated total cost of $250,000. We're going to be putting in a CDBG request for $133,500 with the same amount for the town match. So next up, in order for public engagement, if anybody has any comments on any of these projects or any ideas, you can feel free to email me at mquituisaca@townofaustining.com with the TOO CDBG 2025-2027 as a subject line in your email. So we are also encouraging the public to come to our public hearing on August 6th at 7:30 p.m. You can come in person at 16 Croton Avenue in the first floor boardroom. We will also be having it via Zoom, and please visit the town website to see the meeting agenda for the login credentials. And that is what the town has for its CDBG projects.
Awesome. Thanks, Supervisor. Thanks, Martha.
Thank you,
Howard
Martha.
Milbert. I will turn it over to the Ossining Children's Center. Hey, Howard.
Hi. Am I able to share my screen?
You sure can.
Yeah. Okay. Our projects are for 3 years. The first year, we are looking to fix some issues that happened after the building was built. Our kitchen is extraordinarily hot. When we designed the kitchen, we added a wall to help with the food storage issues. That worked in terms of allowing us to store more food so that we could take advantage of the USDA food that we get from the government. But what that also did was the extra wall created a space that made the kitchen extremely hot. And the temperatures can rise to over 90 degrees when the stove is on. We are looking to add a supplemental air conditioner to the kitchen to correct this issue. In addition, we have more food freezers now at the center than we originally designed the storage room for in our lower storage room area. Again, so that we could accommodate government food, which comes in bulk. And our freezers put off a terrible amount of heat in the during the winter months. When the heating system is on, the combination of the heating system that helps to keep the building warm, plus the heat thrown off by the freezers, makes that area also extremely hot and has spoiled some of the food that we use. So we are looking to put in an air conditioner that will cool the kitchen and one that will cool the storage room. That will be our request for that project is $50,000. The total project cost for the air conditioning is $100,000. The second project that we have the first year is to increase our school age garden. Right now, we have a garden for our younger children, and I'm not sure if I can. Oh, damn. Oops. Oh, there it is. What we want to do, these are some of the children in the garden. This is our current garden. What's capture is that just west of this, we have a sloping area that is quite large, and we would like to terrace that so that we can extend the garden for our school-age children. The current garden serves as a teaching station for our younger children. And as you can see, are looking at caterpillars and eating tomatoes right off the vine. Some of the children who never eat vegetables eat the vegetables they grow. We'd like to extend this to our older children. The cost for this is going to be $50,000, and in addition to the garden, we are also looking to put shade structure over our play area. The summers are getting hotter, and we do have some shade structure. We would like to increase that so that the children can stay out longer during the summer. The total for the garden and the shade structures is $50,000. That would be for our first year. So we're looking at $150,000 total for the first year. Our second year, what we would like to do is retrofit our stairwell doors. We have very heavy fire doors that stay closed during the day. If a child opens up the door, when they move away from the door, they close. We've had some near misses with children getting their fingers caught in the doors as they close. You're not allowed to put wedges to keep the doors open. And what we would like to do is to have the fire doors changed in such a way that they stay open during regular business hours, but if there is a fire, they would close automatically. Over at 90 South Highland, these are the doors that we had, and they worked very well. And we don't have to worry about children getting their fingers caught in the doors on a daily basis. The total project cost to retrofit these fire doors would be $50,000. We're requesting $25,000 in CDBG funds. And the last year, we are looking to improve the security of our building. We would like to install security film over some of the windows to darken them. We have a lot of windows. When we designed the building, we wanted it to be airy, but we found that there are windows that we cannot close so that strangers cannot look in. We would like to fix that. That would be using security film. And also, we would like to retrofit the outside doors with card keys similar to what you have in hotels, so that if there is a problem, the children can quickly go inside. The teachers will not have to fuss with keys as they do now. The total cost for this is $50,000, and we're requesting $25,000 from CDBG. The center has already passed resolutions to provide the funding for these projects.
Great. Thank you so much, Howard. So that concludes the presentations for this evening. Just as a reminder again about next steps. So the town's public hearing is going to be next Tuesday, August 6th. The village's public hearing next Wednesday, August 7th. And just to make sure we have met all the requirements and haven't missed a beat, I believe the Children's Center is planning on attending one of those public hearings. Howard, do you know which one yet?
we're still probably the first one.
Probably the towns. Okay, so the Children's Center project can be spoken about more at the town's public hearing on Tuesday, August 6th. So we are going to wrap this up unless Mayor Levin, Trustee White, or Supervisor Feldman have any comments that they'd like to make about the next steps in this process.
No,
Thank you,
I'm
Matt.
good. Go ahead,
Thanks,
Rika.
Dana. You want to go first? Oh, sorry, Liz. Um, Thanks. I just very quickly, thanks everyone for the presentation. Next, the week of August 6th and 7th is when, is the key week for the public to really show up. If people have questions or comments and would like more information, we really strongly encourage that because that helps us drive our commitments, and it helps us drive we always get some golden nuggets from the public about some enhancements to our own thoughts. So really would appreciate that. I'll let Liz go, and thanks for coming tonight on this very hot day. So I'm glad people are here, and I'm glad it's being recorded so that we can spread this out to the community. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, we developed these projects with input from the people who are using the park. There are requests of many of the different groups of people who use the park, as well as the camps and programs that visit the park. And in conjunction with our superintendent of Parks and Recreation, Bill Garrison, Mario Velardo, our parks foreman, and others. So we are excited about, the upgrades that we're proposing, but we would love to hear other people's opinions. So as the mayor pointed out, please reach out with any thoughts or comments that you have. And our public hearing again will be August 6th. And we look forward to seeing you. Thank you. And Martha, thank you for a wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
So I'm looking at this. I'm not seeing anybody who raised their hand. So is there anybody else that would like to add some commentary?
I'll add some commentary. I may have to recuse myself from part of this because I live on Ellis Place. But we're naturally excited about having better sidewalks. But when can we get an idea of what the entire scope of the project would be? I was told also paving and curbs and some other stuff. So is next week a good time to ask about that?
I don't know if Paul is still with us. Paul, I don't know if you're able to take that question.
Well, I'm going
Here, I
to.
can take it. I can take it. So Dana, the process, and to the public as well, the process for this is a fairly long lead time. So Ellis Place is probably, that would be the third project. So that's not even going to be on the slate until 2027. So we have a long time before we get to that point. So I don't think in terms of the full scope of work, typically it involves very simply streetscaping, which would be the sidewalks. And then usually we pave in conjunction with that. But I think that it would be premature to guarantee that at this point, because a lot of different factors, anything from Con Ed doing work to other budgetary things may change that. And it is not unusual for projects to be delayed or it's a little bit out of our control.
So I think one of the points Dana may be making that may be valuable as input is we heard verbally, this takes 3 years, this takes 2. I think just like in EST, estimated like 2027, estimated 2025, second half of 2025. Usually takes a year to do this. I don't think you have to put every street. But but just a sense of that, because without that, it just seems like it's starting tomorrow, I think is
So
really.
just to be clear, I think I just want to state here, this is over a period of time. So this round is from 2025 to 2028. The grants are done as, in priority order. However, we don't know what we're going to get funded for until after we submit the grant. So right now, this is what we're proposing. So we can't even begin to let you know the
Okay.
timing of these projects until we know what we're awarded. And
Yeah.
there's no guarantee that we are awarded the funding that we're asking for every one of these projects. So once we get the information, we'll be able to put a better timeline on that. I will tell you, we do that with our currents. We're constantly updating it because there is sometimes a lag with the county. Hopefully, most of that was due to COVID, and we'll start seeing more rapid succession of projects being completed. But right now, we're behind on several projects from the 2019, 2024 funding cycle.
Yeah, just
Okay.
to
And the town is as well, so.
Yeah, I think that's just the norm. I think that there's a lot of stuff going on at the footer of every one of the pages. These things take on a life of their own once we post it. So in the presentation, it should just say proposed in large letters for 2025 to 2028 and beyond or something. So people have a sense that it's proposed, even though you've said it like 100 times in this meeting. So any other hands? I don't see any. Do you see any?
I don't see any hands from the attendees. Attendees, if you're interested in speaking, I believe the mayor and supervisor are interested to hear from you. But if I don't see hands, I'm going to remind everyone that this video will be posted to the village's YouTube channel. And we'll also make sure to give the town access to that so we can link it on social media. So if you have friends or
Great.
family members who may be interested and they've missed it, you can direct them right there.
Great. Well, thanks. Nice job.
All right, so we'll see everybody next week at our various public hearings. Stay cool and have a great rest of your week. Good night, everyone.
I,
Right.